Welcome to Business Influencers. Hope everyone's having a great week. My name is Chris Salem, and you found us here at the TALRadio.org website, where we air business influencers each and every week. But you can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and also visit our YouTube channel at TALRadio. Feel free to reach out to us anytime if you have any questions in terms of any content that can help move your business and personal success to the next level. Reach out to us at chris@christophersalem.com. Well, we have a great show for you today. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct, a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types, an opportunity to rekindle old relationships and meet new people for the first time. It takes all the noise out of social media, an opportunity where you can come in and be genuine, authentic, and connect on your time and on your terms. Feel free to check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. We have a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about be everywhere all at once. And I personally have brought in a good friend of mine, Dr. Barrett Matthews. And a little bit about Barrett before I formally introduce him to talk about this important topic. He is known as the media boss, an authority of execution, productivity, and media. Barrett has shared his unique brand of productivity genius with organizations worldwide. He is known as the author of Why Didn't You Get It Done? 50 Shades of Wealth, and a call to action, which he has used to help elevate the productivity of the business people he works with. He has a strong background in media, working in radio, print, and television, with a stint at CBS Sports, plus hosting and producing podcasts, including the Black CEO Morning Show, Lunch and Learn with Chris and Barrett, and Revenue Radio, as well as being a dynamic guest on the 30-Minute Hour, the Linda Fostek Show, and the Power Podcast with Dr. George C. Fraser, to name a few. He was recognized as a World Civility Ambassador in 2020 by Change Nations and as a distinguished leader for 2019, as well as other honors. Always engaging podcast, Dr. Barrett Matthews is committed to showing executives how to start and grow any business activity by utilizing media. He has a mission to bring back civility to the global media with his Media Monarch initiative. He believes we all should make them hear your voice. And without further ado, we welcome Dr. Barrett Matthews to the show. Barrett, how you doing today?
Man, I am doing marvelously well and improving. How you doing, man?
Awesome. I love that. It's always progress over perfection, always striving for excellence, correct?
That's right, man. That's right. We got to keep going.
I love it. Well, hey, you are the media boss. I mean, you've done so many things working with other influencers and subject matter experts and helping them in terms of how to be their media boss, to really, not only hear their voice, but to be so compelling to inspire people to do the same in sharing their experience and sharing their journey to help others. When we talk about be everywhere all at once, I mean, think about that. We're in this world of technology. We can actually do that, but let's talk about that a little bit more in length, what that means, if you could explain to the listeners.
Sure, I'd be glad to, Chris. It breaks a paradigm that we've all been taught. We've been taught before to focus on this area. If you're good at podcasting, focus on that podcast and keep building that podcast. Don't worry about everything else, and your audience will be there, and you'll find that audience. Well, the thing is, you're missing other audiences, because let's face it, everybody doesn't listen to podcasts. And so if you're not getting those people, that means that as a business person, there are paying clients out there that you are not addressing. There are paying clients out there that are looking for what you have, and you're not serving them. And if you focus on the people and not what makes you comfortable, Chris, I call it ego-based marketing, meaning that we focus on putting our efforts into a form of media that makes us comfortable, instead of focusing on what the audience wants. Now, if an audience wants books, if you don't have a book, you're missing them. If an audience wants to see a documentary about Chris Salem, if you don't have one, you're missing them. And what I'm focusing on is showing people that you can have all of these things. And that way, instead of you trying to, another paradigm, find that avatar that they always tell us to go find, that audience can find you because you're meeting them where they are. Got it.
Wow, I love that, meeting them where they are. And so it's a combination of being across different platforms. So it could be podcasts, it could be TV, it could be social media, it could be speaking, books, blogs, or all of the above. Yeah.
that's exactly it. And a lot of times it's kind of overwhelming to a lot of people to think about doing all that, but it can be done. Really, the hardest part, Chris, is setting it all up.
Yeah. Now let's talk about that, Barrett. It's setting up, because I think a lot of times people, when they're looking at media, they're like, there's so many things, and they see all these people doing these things, and they feel overwhelmed. Like, how am I going to do that? Like, where do I start? How much money is it going to cost? Or how frequent do I have to do this? Am I even capable of handling this on a day-to-day basis, whatever it's going to be, to build that engagement and build that community that's so important with through media?
Yeah, that's exactly what they think, Chris. That's exactly what they think. And I tell people, because I'm actually currently I do a challenge. I do a challenge called Make Money from Media Challenge, and I'm actually doing one right now. And in the challenge, I tell people, start with a podcast. And the reason I tell them to start with a podcast, one, because as you know, it's not expensive to start a podcast. I mean, you can actually start one for free if you want, but to do it right, you're going to have to spend a little bit of money to do it right, but it is not expensive to start it. And the great thing about a podcast is that if you are a subject matter expert on anything, you can sit and talk about that subject forever. So all you have to do is hit record. And now you've got a podcast. Now you can take that content and repurpose it. You could actually decide, you know what? Now I'm going to put a camera on me while I'm doing it. And guess what? Now you can start a YouTube channel or a Roku channel of you just talking about that subject. You can set another camera up of you recording your podcast and say, this is going to be part of a documentary I'm going to do on myself. You can actually take that content, transcribe it, turn it into ebooks, and later turn all those ebooks into a physical book. You can do all of these things. And the thing is, it doesn't have to cost you a lot of money, but it's just getting it set up and getting it started. Now, what you mentioned about how often do I have to do it? Well, I do my podcast weekly. Well, once a week. Now, and what I really do, and you know this better than most, is that I can record several podcasts in 1 week and have months worth of podcasts already done.
Yeah.
And so that way now I'm already ahead of the game. And I encourage people to do that because, you and I always talk about being more productive. So that's one of the best ways.
Things come up, like a speaking engagement or something comes up, and it's at the same time the show airs, and it's like, well, I could have pre-recorded it.
Exactly, because life happens, man.
It does. So true. So true. What would you say to someone, Barrett, if they're right now, they're hearing this for the first time, they're a business owner, they're a business executive, they're thinking about creating some impact right now. And where would be the first place that they would start? So this way they don't feel overwhelmed. Like they can start somewhere and then work their way up to connect the dots.
Well, I mean, like I said, I think podcasting is the best. I mean, I would find a host that serves, a hosting site that serves you best as far as what you're looking for. And I can't tell you which one to pick, but you're going to find one that best serves what you want to do with your podcast. And I would start there. Now, if you want to make impact with it, be consistent. You have to be consistent, because if you're not consistent, any impact you thought you had, it went away just like that. So you have to be consistent so that people know you're there. It's kind of like your favorite TV show. If you know it's on at that particular night, at that particular time, you're going to be there. That's how they build TV audiences. But when and we've seen this before in our lifetimes, when they move a show to another day, another time, we have other things we were doing then. So understand that. The same thing applies to your podcast. That's the thing I would put out to make the most impact, because it also is the one area where you can put your passion into it and people can feel it. Yeah. If you're doing, like, for instance, Chris does his podcast. If you listen to Chris, I know you can feel his passion about how he feels about what he does, because this is what he believes in. He could turn that mic on and talk all day because he loves what he's doing, and you can feel it. You can hear that in the voice. You can't always feel that in a blog. You can't always feel that in a book, but you can feel it when you're listening to him, and it's a good way to start and make an early impact on people so that they'll want to follow you for other things.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think in today's world, I mean, the way things are today, Barrett, I mean, you don't have to have some cutting edge podcast platform, or you could start with something, even small, or even just doing your own thing. And then as it grows, if you have to elevate to another platform, you could always do that at some point.
Exactly. And I totally agree with that. And it's one of those things where it's like, you know what, just for your audience, anybody that knows me and Chris, we're like talking to mirrors of each other sometimes, but because it's one of those things when people always want to be perfect when they start a podcast. I'm like, just start it, man. Just start it. You'll grow, just like anything in life. Someone told me a long time ago, you got to be bad before you get good. So
that's so true. And I think that's the thing about people. They have this, they're already like projecting that it's not, I don't think I'm going to be good enough. I don't think people are going to like my content, or why would they listen to me or listen to this podcast? So they procrastinate. They don't even get out of the gate.
They do. And it's funny because that comment right there, like, who's going to listen to me? Watch it. I don't think people grasp how big and vast this world is. The audience that will be listening to you, you may not know them, you may never meet them. But there are people in this world that need to hear your message. That's why I say make them hear your voice. But I also say be everywhere all at once. Because there's someone in Bangladesh right now looking to hear what you have to say. They may be looking on a podcast, they may be looking for a book, they may be looking for streaming TV. But like I said, you got to meet them where they are. So if you take care of all of that media and make sure that everyone can find you in the medium that they are most comfortable in, they can find you. Now, if you're thinking about, oh God, I don't know if anybody's going to want to hear me, somebody wants to hear you. You just may not know who they are right now, but they will. But you'll never know unless you put it out there. You got to put it out there, because I'm one of those people, Chris. I believe that God blessed us all with individual gifts. And for you to keep it inside is insulting to God.
Yeah.
Because you're not sharing your gift. And that's what it's for. So people need to hear it. Get it out there. Somebody wants to hear it. And you may never, ever meet them. So don't hold on to the fact that you need to know them, because you may not know them ever.
That's true. That's true. And like I said, I mean, all of these things about being judged or people thinking that they're not going to like what you have to share, or that you're not going to get any listeners. It's all in your head. You're
in your head.
And yes, like anything, you got to start somewhere. You're not going to have thousands of people listening right off the bat. It takes time to work your way up. But again, it's not attaching yourself to the expectation, to the outcome. It's just, you're here right now. You're recording a show, record it, have fun.
Have fun.
Share.
Have fun. And it's funny you said it's all in your head, because one of my good friends, Dr. Myron Golden, he had he talks about fear versus anxiety, and people say, "Oh, I have a fear," and he's like, "No, you don't have a fear. You have anxiety." He said a fear is a caution from a present danger. Well, there's no danger, and you put that doing a podcast. He said anxiety is an outcome, a future outcome that you made up in your head.
Exactly.
And he said, these people have anxiety about doing it. He said, so when you tell yourself that, and I do this all the time, because we all go through certain anxieties. And I said to myself, you know what, Barrett, you made that up. That's not real. So just go do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's great. I love what you just shared there, because it's so true. And like, I know for me, like, can you talk a little bit about when as a media boss, because you do so many great things with people. Talk about like maybe a little bit about where you started, Barrett. Maybe that will give some people some insight that, hey, it's not like you and I were like, oh my God, we were like blessed to light up the airways with we just started and we just put it out there and got better over time.
First of all, I mean, I can go way back, because I was in college. I wanted to be an architect, and architecture kicked me up and down the street. I was not doing well at it. I didn't know what I wanted to change my major to. And my sister said to me, well, Barrett, you've always been interested in like radio and television and stuff like that. And my honest response was, well, isn't everybody? I didn't think of it as a major. I honestly didn't. I didn't think of it as a major. I changed my major to mass media. My grades shot up, because it was fun to me. It was just fun to me, and my grades shot up. So I did a lot of internships. Now, here's the thing. I didn't do one paid internship. Every internship I did was free, because I wanted to learn and get better. And I learned from some experts. I mean, you're familiar with the sportscaster, James Brown. He was my mentor. And I learned from him. He helped me get up to a local news station here in the DC area. But he helped me get up there because I interned first. I served first. And that helped me to get in there. Then I got up to CBS Sports, worked with the great Brent Musburger and all those guys. But here's the thing, and this is going back to what you were just talking about. They fired me. So it didn't fall in my lap. I had to go through some stuff, but I harkened back to something one of my professors used to say. He said, "You haven't worked in television until you've been fired." So so that was something. It hit me, but
it's part of the process.
It's part of the process, and you got to go through a process. So I literally got out of television for a good television, radio, pretty much all media for almost a decade, and then comes the advent of Blog Talk Radio. And when Blog Talk Radio came on, a friend of mine, he not only had a radio show, he started a whole network. And I said, I want to start a show. So I started doing Blog Talk Radio. And, the bug bit me again, Chris. And then I started doing shows like you mentioned, Lunch and Learn with Chris and Barrett, with a friend of mine. We did a show there. We had that going for years. Then I started another one, Revenue Radio. Then I said, okay, I'm going to take a break. And a good friend of mine, Trevor Ott, said, hey, Barrett, I'm starting this Black CEO morning show, and I want you to be one of the hosts. Well, little did I know he had a plan for me, not only to host it, but to produce it, direct it as well. So I ended up being the everything for the show. But
I remember that show. I think I was on one year.
You were on that show. You sure were. I saw your graphic a little while ago.
You had a great show there with that.
Thank you. And we did that for a while, but then I said, okay, I need to start serving some of my clients. So that's when I started talking to some of my clients, and I was coaching in productivity. And I was telling them, I said, look, to be more productive, you need to start a podcast, because now your message can go on while you do something else. And as much as they weren't doing it though, as much as I realized, as much as I'm telling people, Chris, to get it done, I realized people don't want to get it done. People want to have it done.
Yeah.
So I created a platform where I can produce their podcast. All they have to do is hit record, start talking, send me the recording. We take it, we edit it, put the graphics up, upload it to all the podcast platforms for them. Great. But that's when it hit me. They're missing other audiences.
Yeah.
So I went into all of my media knowledge, and I said, look, we need to make sure we can produce a documentary for them on their business for a human side. We need to be able to help them set up a Roku TV channel. We need to be able to produce books for them and ebooks for them. So what I do, as I mentioned in my Make Money from Media challenge, I show them how to set up all of these things. But I also have clients where I work with where I say, look, if you don't want to do it, we'll do it for you as well. But the thing is, I want to make sure people know that it has to be done in one way, shape, or form. So, but I started, like I said, I've been fired from jobs. It wasn't easy. I had to pull myself up. I got out of media altogether, and it beat me up for a minute. But we all go through things. There's nothing that was handed to me.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you said, it's a process. There's going to be ups and downs. I bet myself. In the past I've been fired and so on. And back then when I was younger, I would take it personally. Now it's not personal. It's just something that, hey, it just wasn't a fit. But had that not happened, I wouldn't be where I'm right now.
Thank you.
So exactly.
I say the same thing, and I learned a lot. I also learned I don't want to be in corporate America. So
I second that. I've been removed for 23 years.
Congratulations. I tell people
it's hard to believe it's been that long, but it's been long time.
And it goes by fast.
Yes, it does. It does.
I mean, to be honest with you, had we been in the corporate circle, so to speak, we would have never met.
Yeah, exactly. We wouldn't even be probably on these platforms because we're so caught up in our day-to-day and
exactly. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with people having a corporate job. I always say, hey, it's a corporate sponsor, so that's how you look at it. But exactly. The thing is, there's nothing wrong with it. But the thing is, if you're really looking for a platform to get yourself out there, it's gonna one way or another, it's gonna take you mentally away from the corporate job.
Exactly. No, I love what you're sharing here. I love this. Be everywhere all at once, and it is so important. It's something that I, could look back on my success in my business and, running a radio show, that it was always the consistency.
Yeah.
Just, putting things out on different platforms didn't mean that I was always good at all of those platforms. I'm a speaker. Right. I can do radio shows. I can do video. I can do speaking virtually, in person. I'm good at that. Writing, okay. I'm an award-winning author, but that doesn't mean I'm a great writer.
I got you.
It took me a long time to write the book, but I mean, I have the ideas, but yet you have to still utilize those platforms. And if it is a weakness, there's help, right? There's ghostwriters. There's
exactly.
like you said that you're doing, that you could do it for them if that is required.
Yeah.
If they're going to spend their time wisely somewhere else where they can focus on their strengths.
And I coined a phrase that said, in order to get it done, you don't have to be the one.
Yeah, I love that.
There's someone else out there who loves doing what you don't like doing. You just have to pay them to do it.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of people. And when I tell people all the things that they can do or that I do, I don't do it all myself. I get someone else to do it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have to be me doing all the labor, because that's taking me away from doing other things that are going to really be more productive for me. I mean, if it's something that you find that it's going to weigh on you and take all your time up, get someone else to do it.
Yeah.
And so when people ask, well, how much are things going to cost? Well, how much does it cost you to do the things that you don't want to do?
That's true. That's so true. I agree 100%. So important. So what are just any other points that you can point out for people listening and those listening later here on demand, that what you've shared so far about, being everywhere, all at once, and, you talked about where you can get started and then where you can go from there. What are some other points that you can kind of just allow people to absorb this information and say, I can do this?
Well, one thing is that get away from the people that are telling you can't do it.
Yes.
And I'm saying this because we're all grown here. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that your audience is made up of adults. So we all know already who those people are. We know who those people are who are not good for boosting us or telling us that we're good at stuff. So get away from those people. Doesn't mean you stop loving them. It just means you get away from them because they're not helping you. So you need to get away from them, then believe in yourself enough to get started. It does not have to be perfect. I repeat, it does not have to be perfect. It has to be started. Once you get it started, you'll learn how to do the rest. Think of it, as watching a child take their first steps. They got to get started. Then later they can learn to walk faster and run faster. You don't have to be perfect. You'll look back years from now or even months from now from a podcast you started and realize, wow, I really have improved. But it's okay, because the people that are following you, follow them because of you. So that's the next point. Be authentic. Be authentic in all you're doing, whether you're writing a book, whether you're doing a film, whatever. Be authentic, because people can spot a phony.
Oh, yes.
And they don't want to deal with a phony. So if you can maintain all of those things and being authentic and just getting started right now, you'll be fine. But you got to get started. You cannot keep procrastinating, because your excuses don't really work. They don't. They don't really work. Your excuses have got you nothing. Exactly. And I tell
more
people,
regret.
What'd you say?
More regret.
More regret, right? I tell people excuses are what people give when they want to get credit for something they did not do.
Yeah, very, very true.
So stop giving yourself excuses, because no one's going to give you credit for starting it if you didn't do it. So that's what I got to offer, Chris. I hope that can help.
Oh, no, it's great, and it's so true. You got to make sure that if you have an environment like that, you got to have to put boundaries and remove yourself from that if required. This has got to, again, you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know everything. You just got to start where you're at and build one step at a time to where you're going, or how the media is going to help you scale your business, or if that is going to be your business itself. So it really comes down to
I agree.
What's really important. So I love what you're sharing here. Any other, as we near the end of the show, Barrett, any other final comment you would like to share, something of high impact that you would like to leave with the audience?
Yeah, it's funny. I was recently asked to be a royal liaison to a king in Ghana. And one of the things that he asked me to do was to bring media, not the media that we have in the United States, but bring media to the people of Ghana. And he was saying that in certain areas, he said, it's like they're in the 18th century. He said, so you really have to really just talk to them and teach them media. And I told him, I said, that is one of the things I would love to do. And the reason why is because in the United States here, and I know your podcast is heard all over, but in the United States, we don't get into journalism anymore. We're into sensationalism.
Yeah.
And what I want to do is be able to teach them journalism and take out the propaganda.
Exactly.
And what I'm encouraging you all to do when I say this is to do the same thing with your message. Take out the propaganda. Go into the facts and how you can serve people and what people need. And understand this. There are different sides to everything.
Yes.
There are different sides. It doesn't make one right or wrong. It just makes it different. So
Absolutely.
You may have a point or a topic that someone else may disagree with. It doesn't mean you have to get angry and go after and attack them through the media. No, you just recognize that there's a different side to it. That goes back to journalism. Journalism recognizes that there are different sides. Sensationalism tries to destroy people. So please stay away from the sensationalism in whatever media you're doing, and make sure that you can actually uplift people by presenting all the sides to them.
Absolutely. Well, Barry, this has been wonderful what you've shared here today with all of the listeners and those who will be listening later. You know, as we end the show, I want to make sure you have some time to share. How can people get in contact with you to find out more about you and Media Boss and how it can help them in their business, and any thing that you would like to leave with the audience?
Well, what I'd like to do is just give them a complimentary gift. And that is a video training I've done. It's called 5 Ways to Paying Clients. So I want to help them to get more clients. So this is real simple. How do you get there? Just go to www.5ways2paying clients. 5ways2payingclients.com. And you go there and you'll get a complimentary gift from me to you. And also you may even get another free gift just for watching the video.
Awesome. Well, everybody, Barrett, we want to thank you, Dr. Barrett Matthews, for being here. As always, feel free to please check out and reach out to Dr. Barrett Matthews at Media Boss. You will not regret it. He has a world of knowledge. He can help you get your podcast up and running amongst other media channels to help get your message across and really create a lot of value and be compelling to the audiences you serve. Audience, we want to thank you each and every week joining us here at Business Influencers. And we want to wish everybody a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. Have a great one, everyone.